We get off the plane and 2 minutes later, we're surrounded by DEA agents. And so they surround us and they check our bags. And my partner had another $65K. So we have like $97,000. Where'd you get the money? What were you doing? And I was very honest. We were gambling and I used to keep just perfect records. They were going to take our money no matter what. They said the dog got a hit. I'm like, the dog is sleeping. The dog, nothing happened to the dog. The dog got a hit.
The dog is unaware.
Yeah, they take all of our money, $97,000. I mean, every dollar we had, just took it all.
It is my pleasure to have this lady on for the first time ever on this show, kind enough to come in studio. And as I was saying earlier, her story is probably about as good as anybody's in this industry. I always say Jeff Ma being part of the MIT blackjack team is probably the coolest story of them all. But Gina Fiore's is right up there. She was a dealer in a casino and one day got the inspiration to go to the other side, if you will, count cards. That led to a life of looking at hole carding, and had a team of players with her. She ended up winning, that team did over $15 million over time with all kinds of other advantage play as well. And she's got a whole bunch going on right now, including a masterclass. We'll get to that. She's got a calendar. Kind enough to join us in studio. By the way, she works for Unabated as well. It's Gina Fiore. How you doing?
Hey, good.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, for sure. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Did I accurately describe?
You did. You did.
How did you, well, let's just start there for a second before we get into all this stuff. What was the epiphany for you? You're a young lady, you're just an employee in a casino, and one day you decided, yeah, there's a better way here.
I had an epiphany. I had a plot point in my life. There was a dealer, I was dealing on the Strip, and there was a dealer who quit his job, and I asked him, what are you going to do? Did you get another job? And he said, I'm going to play poker in Laughlin and count cards. That was exactly what he said. And at that moment, I was like, because I had heard of counting cards, I was like, you can do this for a living? This is a thing that you can do? And I did not like dealing blackjack.
Were you? Oh, because you were searching for a career at that point,
I wasn't. When I was in high school, my mom was a dealer at the Horseshoe. And she saw people getting kicked out for card counting. And she told me that she thought I'd be good at it. And I'm in high school because I was okay at math. And so I remembered this thing she said. And then I hear this guy saying he's going to quit to count cards for a living. And I don't know what happened in my brain, but that was it. I was just obsessed. So I went downtown, got some books, and taught myself.
Yeah. And studied it.
I studied it obsessively. I was obsessed.
Really?
Yeah.
And at what point then, how long did you do that before you discovered hole carding?
God, I was counting
and explain
cards.
To folks, by the way, what hole carding is for those who might not know.
So hole carding is, the dealer's dealing right, and you shouldn't see their bottom card if they're doing their procedure correctly. And hole carding is just, they're not doing their procedure correctly, or the machine is just stationed in a way that when they bring the cards out, you could just see the whole card. And it's not illegal. It's just something that is there for everyone to see. And once you know what to look for, you're just like, oh, there's a card, and now I have a huge edge. And you're not doing anything to get the dealer to show you. You're just sitting there. It's like, oh, I can see this thing.
Just their mechanics, in other words.
Yeah.
So what would you estimate is the ratio of dealers out there? One in how many were you able to discover, oh, this is someone whose whole card I can see? Yeah,
I would say one in 300, 1 in 250. It's a lot of scouting. It is a lot of walking around.
So your life is just going around casinos, seeing and spotting someone, and then just milking that.
For many years, I had no other life than scouting casinos. And there were other opportunities. It wasn't just that. But yeah, I'd had no social life for, I don't know, a decade at least.
A decade?
Yeah.
So so let me just follow suit here. So then at some point, you went from Gina solo to a team. Did you make the assessment that your profile, right, meaning the profile as the casino sees you, was not going to be as lucrative as if it recruited others?
Definitely. Me being me, I can get away. I could have gotten away, and I don't do this anymore. I just bet sports. But I could have gotten away with a lot because... And just honestly, floormen or people working in the casino don't look at me and think I'm sharp. They just don't. So I can just, see the whole card, bet my table minimum, and signal someone else, my, Asian woman, or my older white guy wearing a Tommy Bahama. Like I can signal someone else to bet the money. And so that keeps my profile, very, very low, very anonymous.
And people should know, I feel the need to interject. People should know you are not doing the profiling there. You are actually reflecting what a casino actually has as a prejudice.
Right. Oh, yeah. As far as, and I would play it up. My best thing, I would get like a 13, and then I'd hit and I'd get a 3, and I'd say like 14, 16. And it gets them every time. It gets them every time. And they're just like, there's no way that this person is doing anything. So they just wouldn't assume that I was sharp.
It's an amazing story because it becomes so big and so lucrative, that you end up not only doing it, by ground, you end up flying different places. You end up having an experience. By the way, the easiest person to research in the world is Gina, because there's so much on her, and we'll get to all the stuff that's available, including a documentary on her life as a gambler. But one famous incident is, y'all won a bunch of money in Puerto Rico, I believe it was, in Puerto Rico. You fly back, or go through the circumstance. How did it happen?
Yeah, so I was with one partner, and we were on a trip, a work trip, and we went from Las Vegas to Atlantic City to Puerto Rico, and we're playing blackjack everywhere. So in Puerto Rico, I just had a random bag search from TSA, and they saw that I had $30,000 in my bag, and they said, and it was a lot. And they were like, what is this? And I said, I was playing in the casino. And they said, don't be surprised if someone in Las Vegas stops you to talk to you. Okay. So I'm on the plane taking off, and I send a text to another partner to call Bob Nersessian, who is a big time civil attorney for a lot of gamblers when gamblers' rights are, gamblers' rights. So we had a stop in Atlanta. We get off the plane, and 2 minutes later, we're surrounded by DEA agents, just surrounded. And they've got the dogs, and you've got the DEA agents look like travelers. They got the backpacks, and they look like civilians. And so they surround us, and they check our bags. And my partner had another $65K. So we have like $97,000. Where'd you get the money? What were you doing? And so I was very honest. We were gambling, and I used to keep records, like just perfect records. I was like, we were in Puerto Rico, we were in Las Vegas, we were in Atlantic City, everything. They were going to take our money no matter what. They said the dog got a hit. I'm like, the dog is sleeping. The dog, nothing happened to the dog. The dog got a hit.
They take unaware.
Yeah, they take all of our money, $97,000. I mean, every dollar we had, just took it all. So we flew to Las Vegas. Bob was at the gate waiting for us, and then it was he filed something immediately to get the money back. On our tax returns, professional gambler. I've been filing as a pro for 2 decades at this point. So we filed something, and they wouldn't give the money back. And it was 8 months before we got the money back. And it was the 8th month, they said, if you sign something that you won't sue, we'll give you the money back. And I was like, absolutely not. It's not happening.
Good for you.
Yeah, you violated our rights. So we got the money back.
Because you had some previous experience here in town where you regretted not going after it. I remember.
Right. I was backroomed in the casino for 4 hours. And I was the one who called the police. The police came in, kept us there for 4 hours, and taunted us. And so I did sue. I sued the casino, and I sued Metro, and we ended up settling. So here we were. And I wanted to prove a point, because civil asset forfeiture is a big deal. It's a huge deal. They will take your money and make you prove that it's yours. So we ended up suing the DEA agent because you can't sue the DEA. And we sued him in Georgia. We sued him in Nevada, where we felt Nevada had the burden. We couldn't spend our money here. The crime happened in Georgia, but we felt Nevada was the state that experienced this outcome. And so it was appeal. And the Ninth Circuit said, yeah, you can sue in Nevada, because he wanted us to sue in Georgia. So he appealed to the Supreme Court of the United States, and they took the case.
Wow.
Yeah. It was 8 years of appeals and back and forth. So we went to SCOTUS in 2014, and the argument was over jurisdiction. Where can you sue if a crime happens? And we lost. And so he won, and we had to sue in Georgia. But the thing is, it set a precedent in this country for jurisdiction, for personal jurisdiction. So now I've run into a lot of lawyers who say, oh, we had to study your SCOTUS case.
That alone is awesome.
It is, but we wanted to set a precedent. It wasn't about the money. We weren't going to make money. It was a precedent to say, not only can you not do this, but we have to make it hard for you. Like, you can't do this anywhere. Now we have to fight you over there. Like, we should be able to fight you in our home state.
Hold that thought.
Yeah.
We'll continue this. But I want to get to all the things that you're doing, including Masterclass. Gina Fiore on a numbers game coming back. I just want to wrap up your story because we have so much else to talk about. Ultimately, though, they won. You said you settled, I thought.
So we settled versus Metro and the casino that backroomed me. As far as the DEA agent, they won jurisdiction. So now if we wanted to take it further, we had to sue in Georgia. And now it's 8 years after, we had our money seized. And I do regret this, but we let it go. It's like, if we sued in Georgia, it would be a whole thing.
At some point you have to, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to move on.
It was just to prove a point. It was just to prove a point, and yeah, we let it go.
And then, okay, this begs the question then. By the way, this entire sort of life that Gina led as an advantage player is represented in the documentary, which is called?
It's called Miss Brown.
Miss Brown, which is the name you took all these years when you were doing this?
Yeah, that's the name I used on like blackjack message boards. And then in the blackjack world, they still call me Miss Brown or MB. That's how people refer to me.
By the way, Gina's Twitter is at RX Gamble, like the prescription, RX Gamble. There's a shot of Miss Brown winning against the house, the documentary based on her life. Now, can I ask you a question? Is that you or the actress that plays you?
No, that's me.
That's you. Okay, because the actress who plays you favors you, right? Like, you guys look quite a bit alike.
They casted that amazingly.
Yeah. What is her name?
Her name's Christina, the actress.
Christina, okay.
Christina Bra.
So if people want to get that, what's the easiest way for them to go to your Twitter, maybe? Is there a link there to
No, so it's a series by Meadowlark Media. They made a series called Sports Explains the World. I think it's 16 episodes, and it was sort of like a 30 for 30 sort of thing. The president of ESPN went over to Meadowlark Media. So he created the series. Yes, exactly. He created the series. They're all done. They're all in the can. I've seen a couple of them. They're great, and they haven't sold the series yet. So you can see the trailer online. There's a link on my website, but you can't watch the documentary, unfortunately.
Can't watch the documentary.
No.
Okay.
No, not yet. Not yet.
All right. Well, there are some things you can get here. We'll get to that. How did you transition then? Because everybody who listens to this show bets on sports. Some also bet in the casino, in the gaming tables. How did you transition to sports betting? What was the point in your life where you're like, you know what? This was a great thing in my life, but I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. I have always had friends who bet professionally because there is crossover, but I was too busy doing other things. And then I was pregnant, and I didn't want to be in the casino for the secondhand smoke. I just didn't want to be around it. I actually got a mask at the time, and I was the only person, because it was not.
You were that person.
It was that. It was before COVID. So so I was betting someone else's stuff at home while I was pregnant, and then when you're in the casino playing, you're scouting for new opportunities, like always, not just counting or hole carding. You're looking for everything. So I was on these websites, 2015. So this was all like, bookie stuff. And I'm looking at every betting menu, and I'm just trying to find things. And so I found a lot of live baseball that was off. It was just severely off from Pinnacle. So I would just sit there pregnant, betting live baseball totals. And it lasted for 2 seasons. So when I was pregnant, and then when my son was a baby. So I did that for 2 seasons, and it introduced me.
You're holding your son betting baseball.
Sometimes I was holding my son betting baseball.
I love that. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And so you have been a sports bettor now for all these years, and you end up, we all know Captain Jack and Rufus, our buddies, who co-founded Unabated, and you work at Unabated now.
Yeah, I do some content for Unabated. I joined the site because I've been friends with Captain Jack for over 20 years.
Wow.
We were on the blackjack message boards together. And if you know Captain Jack, he's on Twitter or he's on Discord, the Unabated Discord, answering everyone's questions.
He's amazing.
He's amazing. He was doing this 20 years ago.
He's the commissioner of sports betting.
Yes. You had a blackjack question 20 years ago, and he was, on the blackjack forums answering questions.
It's in his bio. I said he was the commissioner of sports betting. That's
it
right.
is.
Yeah.
But so I joined Unabated with the idea that I have a lot of knowledge about gambling. Like I do. I understand the mechanics of gambling, and I thought I could explain sports betting to an audience that's less educated than who Captain Jack speaks to.
Gotcha.
Because he kind of speaks to the middle of the road gambler and above, or sports bettor. And I thought I can get to those people who don't know much.
And you do a podcast now.
I was doing a podcast for Unabated. And I wrote some articles, and I've been bouncing around. We're sort of trying to figure out what the best way to reach those bettors is.
Well, when I told Bill Adie, who just walked in here, when I told him you were coming on, his immediate response was, she's a great writer. Which, by the way, at ginafiore.com, your blog, you really are a great writer.
Oh, thanks.
So that's a huge thing that people can also resource from you. So here's the thing then. You are now doing a masterclass. People know this from, you may know it if you have a Facebook account, it'll pop up, Malcolm Gladwell on writing, or Michael Lewis on storytelling. You are doing, along with a bunch of others, including Rufus and Jack, a masterclass on sports betting.
Right.
How great has that experience been?
It was a great experience, but let's be honest, I've been, betting for 9 years. So I'm not going to call myself a master sports bettor, but that wasn't what they did. They did an hour and 10 minutes, and it really is the basics. It's really like people are just losing so much money.
So much.
They're getting crushed. So it was a very basic, this is the mechanics of sports books. This is how it works. This is price discovery. This is the VIG. This is a money line. It starts with that.
By the way, this is so great because there's so many bettors who are newish. And by the way, even for all of us, right? Like all of this stuff is great too. But I wish when we started sports betting so many decades ago, I wish there was a resource like this.
Yeah.
And they can go to RX Gamble and access Masterclass.
So they can go to my website, ginafiore.com, and there's a link for Masterclass, or you can just go to masterclass.com, and I think they advertise it. And yeah, it's not, I want to say it's not for the professional. All this stuff, but even the bettor that's maybe been betting a year, they might not understand price discovery. They just might not. You know what? I actually had the thought that the audience that watches Masterclass would probably watch this and send it to their 22-year-old son who's been betting like 8-leg parlays during Thanksgiving, and they might just send it over and be like, oh, you might want to watch this.
One last thing before we go, because we only have a minute. You have a calendar.
I do. I have a calendar.
365 days of gambling.
Yes.
What was the epiphany here? You just decided, you were looking for one and it didn't exist.
I was looking for one last year and it didn't exist. And I'm doing a lot of creative projects like the documentary. I'm writing a TV show, a drama, and everything's slow. So I knew I could do this. I'm like, I can do a calendar. I can do this. So I did this calendar, and it's got 365 different things: casino history, gambling trivia, quotes.
I'll give an example. August 26, 2025, United States President Richard Nixon used poker winnings to help finance his first congressional campaign.
Yeah.
And other tidbits like that, one for every day of the year.
Yeah, and I verified everything 3 times. So, yeah.
How long did it take you to do it?
God, it took me so long. It took me dozens of hours. It took me a very long time.
She's shaking when she said that. And they can go to?
They can go to my website, and there's a link, or they can go to 365daysofgambling.com. So either my website or 365.
Thanks for watching, but don't let the betting insights end here. If you want an extra edge this football season, you can get a month of VSiN Pro right now, absolutely free. That means access to our betting insights, analysis, and tools like our betting splits at 0 cost to you. Click the link in the description to sign up.